Hey everyone, thank you for joining us in this educational course. I'm glad to have a chance to talk with you folks about some challenges that we early career researchers may go through, some different perspectives, and what to do about it. Before everything, I'd like to invite you to join us in our Open Science Anti-Bingo, a kind of bingo in which the cells are common pushbacks we hear to avoid practicing some aspects of open science. So get your phones and scan this QR code. Unfortunately, you folks are watching a recording, so I will not be here to present the results of what you selected. However, after the course, I will release the summary results in the same URL. Remember that are no way that I'm able to identify any of you, so anything you select in this webpage, only you will know. And in any case, there are no winners in this anti-bingo. So hopefully this course helps you find the next steps to find solutions to your issues regarding open science. And I'll include references used in this presentation in the same webpage if you'd like to get more details. The QR code will be in the next slide too, so let's go there. If you folks don't know me, which should be the norm here, I am Anibal, I'm Brazilian and a second generation PhD student at Austin, Texas. I come from a small town in South Brazil where getting a PhD is not a thing that's usually on the radar of people. So, for example, the computer science undergrad there is much more tuned towards industry. But being the son of a history professor, I had a contact with this world in my childhood, which brought me here. And besides academia, I've been in touch with open source communities from Brazil, which makes me even more excited for open science practices and discussions. However, a big word of caution here. I'm having some good challenges as a Brazilian in US. However, I'm still a cis white man in the global north, working with labs which open science is norm. Given that, I like you to understand that my views may be restricted to some challenges and point of views. People have been building these discussions in my head, such as the great Dr. Stephanie Noble, and publications regarding these topics of open science, inclusion, and power, such as from Dr. Olivia Guest and several others. If you want to dig deeper, I have some resources compiled in the big webpage. Take a look there. Besides, each of you may have a different career path, so it's hard to cover it all. You can try to generalize whatever I talk here to your life, but I immensely recommend you to reach out to the community. It may sound anecdotal because I'm certainly one that got so much help and had the opportunity to give to the community. However, I'm assure you that I've seen a lot of people really shining here. They are always willing to help in whatever by advising your career, technology, how to deal with certain situations, and so on. And of course, we are taking time from another person, so don't forget to be respectful and grateful with whomever helped you. We may think the community as this delineated group of people, especially the ones that show up more in Twitter or publications of our field. But the concept of community here, it's much vaguer and influx. So I'll show you later different examples on how to find these people. Myself, as a shy guy, have a great time avoiding social interactions. I promise you it's worth your anxiety to meet with people from academia. Also, you can always bring a friend together to share an embarrassment. It may get easier, right? We have this scar from the pandemic called Zoom meetings, so enjoy it if it helps you get into this sort of interactions. And most important, the other part is also human. They do have interests and possibly they do like a good casual conversation. So what I can say is be nice. I have built a small taxonomy to address different challenges I see in doing open science. So the challenges overlap a lot and can affect different aspects in your journeys as scientists. So let's see how they impact us. Let's start talking about technology, how we do our analysis with what data and which resources. Resource access is a big issue in our field. Neuroscience, in specific here in human brain mapping, requires some level of computing power to handle the scale of datasets, and the community is pushing towards more resolution, more repeated measures to comprise the high variability we see in neuroimaging. But not everyone has access to this kind of computer power, nor have the bandwidth to collect all these datasets. Towards providing such resources to researching need, Open platforms have been developed by research groups and maintained by public funds, so they do not share the same capitalization aspiration as for-profit platforms. Regardless, open platforms require justification for its existence to renew or apply for new grants. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to cite these platforms or any open source tool you end up using in your research to substantiate the maintenance efforts of these softwares. The platforms I like to refer you folks to is OpenNeuro and BrainLife, two great platforms that are pushing open data and open computing to great levels. Both platforms are open source and give you free access to resources such as the Texas supercomputers and virtually infinite storage space. Okay, some pushbacks regarding technology. It is too much work to do. Well, to some sense, it is a good amount of work to do. But once your workflow or the workflow of your lab is set up, it should go faster and faster. Just give it the kickstart and things will follow. My code sucks. It is common in programming to refer to a code as spaghetti code when it's just a mess. The thing is that it just doesn't matter that much. It only matters having it organized and documented, since it helps people to understand what's happening in your code. And for that, you can always ask for people to kindly review your code and identify points of improvement. We do not have the training to do this. Well, luckily, most open source tools have extensive documentation about how to use it. If not from the main developers, other people in the community may have created an article or a post saying how to use it. And Google is a friend. An awesome example is from Andrew John, most known as Andy from the Andy's Brain blog. He explains so many things related to neuroimaging tooling, preprocessing, etc. An incredible service for the community. And it became an online book. They'll just get our hard work and do something better. Yes, hopefully they will. This is science, so the point is to make things better. And if they are good people, they will certainly cite you in their publications. They have access to all these supercomputers. How can we even compete? Well, as you just saw, there's a lot of open computing platforms, much more than what I've shown before. Check the webpage for more platforms. I'm sure some will help you. Also, open data is very important for leveling the ground for us, since it gives us the opportunity to perform new analysis in data we would never be able to collect by ourselves. And the community. These people are wonderful. Here during OHBM, reach out to people that are building these tools, learn from them. They know so much and they will be happy to help you. In special, I'd like to point you to DataLed, a system to help you organize your data. BrainLife, which I've cited already, and say hi to Soichi for me. And NiPipe/Pydra, a great tool for creating your analysis workflows. Dorota, one of the main developers, will certainly be around. And there was the hackathon some days ago. I hope you had a chance to get in there. If not, you can see their main website about the projects that were developed. Promise me to reach out to at least one of them and maybe collaborate to it. There's always the huge BrainHack community that organizes hackathons around the world and brings access to the community. Check out their Mattermost, there's the chat platform, and participate or organize a local BrainHack in your institution. Why not, right? Last, be really aware that no question is ever dumb, especially regarding complex technology. If that's not enough for you, remember that you're a goddamn ECR. We have a free pass to ask a dumb question. So go crazy, just be respectful. All right, so technology is easy, right? So just throw some computers at it and you have it. Now, the other two branches of open science are more tricky, full of nuances. We're going to start with academia and politics, so be ready. So how science actually works? Well, science processes are awfully complex, with several steps and heterogeneous workflows between institutions and countries. So let's get a slice of that, what can be more common to you, the publishing process. So let's say your PI or advisor apply for grants, for example, from public funds, and they repass it to some students and use it to buy, I don't know, some snacks to the lab, but a good part of it is allocated to publishing. And not only that, to publishing open, so the visibility of your publication is greater, right? And you folks remember the $11,000 to publish open in Nature Neuroscience, right? So after some good months, they start thinking about reviewing your manuscript and bring other researchers to do it for free. And maybe reviewer 2 is kind enough to let you finally publish, and there you have your high impact factor journal publication. Yay! So I don't know you guys, but I always lose some brain mass when thinking how these things do not fit together. So I ask, how science actually works? Academia is about power for those who have the cards. The things that we as ACRs are dependents or hostages from the high impact journals to build a career to be seen. Besides, the publication reviewing process is obscure and does not guarantee the publication quality, and even the metrics to measure scientific impact are incredibly skewed towards the global north and to those already in advantage. So how can we even try to compete in this game? Slowly, open venues get some more impact and respect in our community. Open reviews is put in place to give the public some clarity, and different metrics are used to measure one's impact in academia. But they do not come without issues. This amazing paper by Tony Ross Holloway et al. Delineates the several drawbacks of open science that affect the non-dominant groups of academia, such as ourselves. So they point out flaws in the system created by the already existing structural inequalities and biases that are disregarded in open science, resultant of a too narrow a focus on achieving open science per se, without acknowledging the inequitable global power dynamics of global power knowledge production and exchange. All this can be summarized in this beautiful concept called cumulative advantage. It is simple as it sounds. This is an axiom of a bigger theory, which states disadvantage increases exposure to risk, but advantage increases exposure to opportunity. For my Brazilian folks here, it means aqui o de cima sobe e o de baixo desce. See, I just did a joke favoring this minority from my country, not bringing any opportunity to the others. Yay! However, I really like for you to keep this in mind. For you as an ACR when going through some challenges, but also you that may be affected by other structural inequalities in academia and life in general. Now some Q&A for pushbacks in academia and politics. How do I even publish open with these prices? Well, there are some solutions for this one that involves work. There's the possibility of collaborating with other labs to share the cost of publishing, which in general is a good idea since the collaboration has several benefits to the research quality. Nonetheless, look for publishing waivers in which you fit the criteria, for example, low to middle income countries. If you can, consider publishing to Green Open Access or other venues like Open Science Foundation and their archive with an X. Just be aware that academic social networks such as ResearchGate are not open access repositories, given they are for profit and they do not hold the same commitments than an academic institution do. How to participate in open reviews without retaliations? Well, that's a tricky one. There's no way to know how the other will respond to your critique. So one thing you can do is look for someone to review your review, which is kind of crazy, to get the right tone. And I know this is a horrible advice since you are just giving in to them. Retaliation is very anti-ethical. So if you end up experiencing such things, look for seniors, student groups, and the journal editorial, whoever. Do some noise. You're definitely not wrong in this. How to pump up my visibility and research metrics. Visibility can be achieved in several ways. A good thing about open science is that you have all the material out to write useful content, like learning to suffer from scratch. Such write-ups to the community are always valuable. Also, joining open source projects and providing with some help can be very good for you and your career. Regarding metrics, if we are talking about publication metrics, such as the H-index, collaborating with other labs and independent groups is a go-to. For alt metrics, based on social networks and on online media, you have the means to produce accessible content and reaching greater publics. So maybe a polite ask for a retweet from a popular friend of yours. Why not, right? And the community is big on this one, since we cannot change the structure of academia by ourselves. So get together with mid-level researchers in your department, ask for advice on how they did or did not overcome challenges as scientists. But also look for the bigger communities. We live in a neuroscience bubble. Search for open science done in other fields, such as astronomy and ecology, how they better handle the science processes. We are definitely not alone in opening science. Now, for your folks here, go to the open science room, participate in discussions, and share your point of views. Especially this one on June the 20th, when they will discuss open publishing. Pradeep Ramana, a great steerer when it comes to breaking the established closed structures in science, certainly you have some good things to say. He's also a very kind person, so say your hi for me. If you don't know about the student postdoc group in OHBM, now you know. They have several initiatives with great talks and mentoring. Megan Lauber wrote a piece in the SIG blog about getting a PhD with ADHD. It is worth reading for us neurodivergents out there. And in our last branch, but for me the most important one, inclusivity. Inclusivity is very related to academia politics. The old organizational and social structures slow down careers in open science as producers and as consumers. However, some of these structures are more nuanced and they are not easy to quantify, being for the reduced number in the non-dominant groups or the nature of the structure. Actually, when someone says nuanced issues in inclusivity, it feels like a slap in the face because the effects are not subtle at all. The disadvantages faced by the non-dominant groups can be accounted by many factors, including biases in the animational process, language barriers, scarcity in the role model, poor mentoring, lack of support network, poor institutional practice, and even more. Yes, there's so much to fight for, and hardly every aspect will be put in consideration by researchers, since it's just too much. However, at the same time, it is too much for the groups that faces these disadvantages, being it is discouraging for them to stay in academia. And even when doing actions to bring equity, people forget about the cumulative advantage of the ones already on the top. So for sure, it's a complex issue. We need to keep vigilant, thinking how we can improve ourselves and the system. For example, one study created by Dr. Megan Frederickson analyzes the impact of COVID in the number of published preprints for different genders. As noted by Frederickson, this analysis has limitations, such as reducing gender to male and female, and the issues that come from inferring gender from names. But in any case, it still provides an interesting glimpse on the scientific production by women during these dark times. Frederickson stated, though discussing some caveats, that the trends in preprints are consistent with the hypothesis that the pandemic is disproportionately hurting the productivity of female scholars. There may be other mechanisms at work, but for example, the trend could be explained by the increase in caregiving demands from women, which decreases their time to attend research. And well put by the author, in a publish or perish world, it seems this pandemic could be setting back the hard-won progress of women in STEM. What can we do to handle pushbacks regarding inclusivity? Let's list some of them. It is too much hassle to make a conference inclusive. Well, is it though? You can address this in several ways. Find venues that are accessible, bring caregiving services to it, make it also available online for those that cannot travel to your location, and lower the registration costs for those attending online. It may never encompass everyone, but some effort is better than nothing, and some efforts are really easy and very low cost. Why should we put effort in including underrepresented groups? They should work harder. Well, that's the thing. Underrepresented groups already work harder. Be empathic. In general, to be honest, this way of thinking is a huge red flag. Look for the department of your institution that is responsible for promoting inclusivity and check your options on how to better handle this. I am being discriminated or excluded. Well, every event or project must provide with a code of conduct on how participants and collaborators should behave. If they're not behaving, report it. If someone else is being discriminated, think about the advantage you have in relation to what they have and leverage it to help them. The communities here, of course, are thrilling. I participate in the Women in Neuroscience repository, which is a place for people to find and recommend women in our field for talks and conferences. We intend to expand it for a job post and fellowship focused on women. So, women out there, be sure to create your profile. And there's a huge number of groups out there for women, Black community, queer, even the OHBM committee for diversity and inclusivity. I'll make sure to have a lot of links in the Bingo webpage, so please take a look, find your tribe, or start one of your own. Phew, okay, my closing remarks, finally. So yeah, folks, I'm kind of a critique guy. I certainly brought you more problems than solutions, but I guarantee you that first, it is always good to know the field you're battling in, and second, you are not alone in this. As a community, we need to voice our needs and entice discussions about the sciences, what should be and what should it not be. As for your next actionable step, here in Glasgow, go to Open Science Room. Get involved, get yourself known, and bring your friends. And question. Question me, yourself, your beliefs about science, and question others. Just don't forget to be nice. I'll leave the floor now for my colleagues. It was an honor. Bye bye.